Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is August 5th. On this day in 2023, Rachel Moran, a 37-year-old mother of 5, went for a routine jog on the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland, but she never came home. What followed was an urgent manhunt, a breakthrough in forensic genealogy, and a case that touched off debates from safety to immigration policy. Today, we're talking about the murder of Rachel Moran, a crime that shattered a Maryland community and sent shockwaves across the country. Let's get started. It was just before 7 p.m. on August 5th, 2023, when Rachel Moran laced up her running shoes and headed to the trailhead at William Street. She strapped on her Apple Watch, stepped into the warm summer air, and took off along the familiar Ma and Pa Trail. It's a quiet, tree-lined path that she visited almost daily during the summer. But when Rachel didn't return by nightfall, her boyfriend, Richard Tobin, grew concerned. Around 11:20 p.m., he called the Harford County Sheriff's Office to report her missing. Her car was still parked at the trailhead, untouched. By dawn, family, friends, and volunteers joined the search, and what they discovered was harrowing. A trail of blood, 150 feet long, streaked across rocks, leaves, and brush. Her attacker had dragged her off of the main path. Then, just after 1 p.m. the next day, a volunteer named Evan Knapp spotted her body. It lay in a dark drainage culvert beneath the trail. At first, he thought it was an animal. Then he froze. It was Rachel. What investigators uncovered next would confirm the community's worst fears. Rachel had suffered blunt force trauma, 50 to 20 blows to the head, likely with a rock. She had been strangled and sexually assaulted. DNA was recovered from her body and from nearby surfaces. Her Apple Watch showed her time of death was around 7:04 to 7:10 p.m. Witnesses reported seeing a man holding a shovel loitering near the trail seconds before Rachel's final GPS ping. In just minutes, a safe evening jog had turned into a brutal crime scene. Rachel's murder shocked Maryland, but the case quickly widened. DNA recovered from her body was submitted to the National CODIS database, and within weeks, they had a match. They matched the DNA to a March 2023 home invasion and sexual assault in Los Angeles, but the suspect's name remained unknown. Surveillance footage in LA showed a shirtless man fleeing that crime scene. The same DNA connected him to Rachel's murder, meaning that her killer had struck before on the other side of the country. But again, CODIS had no name. So investigators turned to forensic genetic genealogy. Using advanced sequencing, analysts at Othram traced DNA to family members in genealogy databases. Slowly, a family tree emerged, pointing to 23-year-old Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, a man who had entered the U.S. illegally after allegedly committing a murder in El Salvador. His relatives handed over clothing and shoes he had left behind. DNA from those items confirmed their match. Rachel's killer now had a name. On May 20th, 2024, which was Rachel's birthday, Harford County Sheriff announced this match and called it, quote, a poetic coincidence or perhaps Rachel's own divine assistance, end quote. After a 10-month investigation, on June 14th, 2024, Martinez Hernandez was arrested at a bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma. His DNA matched the samples from both Rachel's case and the earlier assault in California. He was also wanted for murder in El Salvador. Records showed that he had illegally crossed the U.S. border multiple times, moving through New Mexico and Texas. By the summer of 2023, he was living near Bel Air, the very place Rachel went missing. He was extradited to Maryland, and a grand jury indicted him on multiple counts: first-degree murder, first-degree rape, kidnapping, and third-degree sexual offense. Prosecutors announced that they would seek life without parole. In pretrial testimony, forensic scientists said that his DNA was found on Rachel's body, her Apple Watch, and inside the culvert. Witnesses also linked him to the area using Facebook records, location data, and Wi-Fi signals. A trial was set, one that would test not just the strength of DNA evidence, but the system that had let a killer in. On April 1st, 2025, jury selection began. Within days, 12 jurors, 10 men and 2 women, were sworn in. Opening statements came on April 4th. Prosecutor Allison Healy described a deliberate ambush, saying, quote, "You don't commit a rape and murder in 4 minutes without a plan," end quote. The defense countered with speculation, suggesting that someone else could have been involved, and raised questions about the eyewitness descriptions. But the heart of the case was the DNA. Forensic experts testified that the odds of someone else matching Martinez Hernandez's DNA were nearly zero. Volunteers recounted the horror of finding Rachel. Her boyfriend, Richard Tobin, recalled the panic from that night. On April 12th, the jury returned a verdict after less than 50 minutes. Guilty on all charges. Sheriff Goller called him a monster. State's Attorney Healy said, quote, "Justice has been served," end quote. Rachel Moran's death changed Harford County. Officials installed $1.2 million worth of AI-powered surveillance cameras along the Ma and Pa Trail. Patrols increased, and deputies now ride gators through the woods. In August 2023, the community held a memorial walk called the Trail of Life. Rachel's children were supported by donations. A GoFundMe raised tens of thousands of dollars. Flyers with the killer's sketch blanketed California and Maryland, and a $35,000 reward helped generate leads. Her murder also sparked national policy debates. Sheriff Goller and Rachel's brother spoke at political events criticizing border enforcement. But still the questions remain. Could this have been prevented? Could better tracking have saved her life? But at the end of the day, Rachel Moran was more than a case number. She was a mother, a friend, and a vibrant part of her community. Though her killer has been found and justice has been delivered, the pain remains. But so does the hope that her story may help keep people safer. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found Rachel's story compelling, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day, True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!